All right, so they are in a break right now in the trial. The judge has excused the jury for about 20 minutes. Why? Why? Because the prosecution wants to show a video that's already been entered into evidence. So what's the problem, right? Yeah, it's already been entered into evidence, meaning it was agreed to as a piece of evidence by the court. It was agreed to by the court. But the prosecutor wants to use the commonly used feature on an iPhone, which he has on his iPad too, which you know is to touch it, pinch, and zoom, right? Everybody does it every day. We all do it, right? Well, this judge is 74 years old. His name is Judge Bruce Schroeder. And he doesn't understand, that we do this every day on the iPhones and on the iPads and on other kinds of phones and devices, that we can actually zoom in to a picture and get a closer look at something in the frame. This judge says he doesn't know about that. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't, want the jury to see something that adds pixels. Swear to God. He doesn't want the jury to see something that would alter the image. He doesn't want them to see something that is already accepted evidence, zoomed in on, because he thinks that's something a crime lab has to do. And so he took a 20-minute break so he could figure out whether or not he needs to get an expert to testify to the fact that it doesn't alter the image, it just zooms in on the actual image. Swear to God. This judge is very, very, I want to call him uppity. Do you know what I mean? I do. This judge has a lot of problems with a lot of different things all the time. He had a problem with Kyle Rittenhouse's crying. He had to adjourn to let Kyle Rittenhouse, get his crap together because he broke down crying on the stand. First of all, he's a badass, right? Kyle Rittenhouse is a badass with an AR-15 on the night of the killings. Now, all of a sudden, he's being, asked to have a look-see at what he did, and he breaks down crying on the stand. And the judge, out of sympathy for this double murderer, actually gave him, a break so he could get his stuff together. Listen, he's such a badass, this Kyle Rittenhouse is, that I expected him to get on the stand armed. I mean, this guy is totally connected to his weapon at all times. We should probably point out that he took the stand unarmed today. And we're here to discuss killings, the only ones that took place by vigilantes this summer. The killing was done by the guy on the stand, the only ones. And maybe this judge doesn't even want to call it killings. Maybe he wants to call it altercations with bullets. Maybe that's the preferred verbiage that this particular judge, because this judge has objected to his own rulings. I mean, this is such a strange courtroom. Now, I want you to remember that the prosecutor in the case should get leeway. Why? Why, Rand? Why? Because you're on the side of the prosecutor? No, not at all. Because the prosecutor has the burden of proof. Remember, Kyle Rittenhouse walked into this courtroom presumed innocent. You understand that? That's why all of this stuff has to go on with rulings and looking at evidence and looking at admitting it and shielding the jury's eyes from his previous behavior, right? Because it could lend an air of this kid is a bad kid to the jury, and that's what, and Kyle is presumed innocent, and so the judge does have to shield Kyle Rittenhouse's rights. But the prosecution has the burden of proving the 6 charges that this kid faces beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a very high burden. And that's why the prosecution shouldn't be told that it can't zoom in on an iPad. But this judge is doing it anyway. And it isn't out of an abundance of caution. It's out of ignorance. The judge seriously doesn't understand an iPhone because he's 74 freaking years old. And that is frightening because now the prosecution would like to use a piece of evidence that's already been admitted in his cross-examination of Kyle Rittenhouse, who killed 2 people and wounded a 3rd. But I will say this hysteria, this breakdown that Kyle had on the stand, it shows you that this is a person who should never have a gun. Why? Because he's so freaking emotional. He's 17. That's what he is. He's an emotional 17-year-old who views himself as a badass. He plays Call of Duty. He thinks it's all a video game. At this point in his life, he's only 17 years old. But he got on the stand today, and he showed you that he's still just a child who was scared. He was scared of the people.
I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were there were 3 people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what That's what I run.
We're going to just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes.
Okay, way to go, Kyle. Your badass persona just evaporated, and you just killed any chance you had at hosting a right-wing radio talk show. There's no crying in MAGA. Oh, my God. It's because he's 17 years old. You understand that? And this is what's going to go on the jury's head. Do we really want to ruin his life because he killed 2 people and blew off another guy's biceps? Do we really want to ruin his life? But there's no crying in MAGA world unless you're doing it while you talk about how much you love Donald Trump, right? Then you could just, But honestly, what you were seeing there, some people, I saw them saying, it's an act. This is the performance of a lifetime. No, he's a child, okay? He's a 17-year-old. And the police and his mother that drove him there with this illegal gun, all these people contributed to the situation in which he finds himself today, on a stand under oath defending himself from murder. That's what the adults who are MAGA are doing. They're so worried about critical race theory and teaching history, and as if we can't look anything we want to know up on the internets now, right? To the point where they're going and threatening school board members. Oh, the innocence of my child. You will not teach my child American history because it's disturbing. The history is disturbing. It involves killing and genocide and, prejudice and hatred and lynching and all kinds of violence against people. Well, we don't want our children exposed to that, as if they can't look it up on the internet. But we do want our 17-year-olds to be exposed to parents who would drive them with an AR-15, an illegal one, to protect the car source in Kenosha. Yeah, that's fine. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.